and welcome back. We are here for another episode of the Plant.Body.Soul podcast, and I am so happy to see you again, my friend Gordon.
Great seeing you, Jen.
Yeah, nice to see you, buddy. And also to welcome our friend and client, Kaila Strong, the marketing director from Curaleaf. Also a recent Cornell Law grad, which I am super proud of this human being, this amazing accomplishment. So let's just dive right in. We want to hear more about you. And Gordon, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, we would love to start with kind of a question that that we like to ask, and it's really starts with four parts.
Okay.
Where were you born? Where did you go to school? Where did you work before Curaleaf? And what's gotten you to where you're sitting today? So really just the story of Kaila.
All right. I love it. Well, I was born in a little town in Montana, very close to the Canadian border, called Havre. And so Havre is about an hour outside of Great Falls. So a lot of people don't, know exactly where that is. But my mom and dad had lived there in their early 20s, and I didn't stay very long, but grandparents had lived there, and get to go back every once in a while. It's about 2 hours outside of Glacier National Park, so it's a beautiful part of the country, just gorgeous, yeah. Lived in Montana for quite a while, but went to high school in Idaho, and went back to Montana for college. So I went to University of Montana, and I studied political science. And I graduated in 2005. And then my second stint with college was quite a while later. So I graduated this last August, in August of 2023, with a graduate degree in law from Cornell. And that was a 2-year kind of program, part-time, but it took quite a while. Yeah. So I'll be 40 in November, and achieved that goal of like going to law school. You know, I was thinking it'd probably happen after college, but it just didn't quite happen. So, it's good to have a gap.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's great.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's amazing.
And so, that kind of led me to Arizona, was leaving University of Montana and taking that gap time. I actually got my start into marketing. I applied to a job on Craigslist kind of randomly,
Sure.
Working for a really small agency, a marketing agency. And so started at Vertical Measures. We were a digital marketing firm, mostly focused on search engine optimization. And so that was sort of how I got my foray into marketing. Because, as I had mentioned, I was political science was my major, so not quite marketing. It's a little bit farther away from that, I guess. Yeah. And so it was wonderful just to get at the ground level, and worked at an agency. I think I was the 5th or 6th person hired, and we grew it to a large agency. I stayed there for almost 8 years, and grew it to saw the ebbs and the flows and the recession, and this was early 2000s, and but it definitely cut my teeth into marketing, and I realized I wanted to have more of a well-rounded version, not just digital marketing. And I didn't get that time to do the traditional marketing route. So I decided to go over to Lavage, which is a large agency here, and worked with Bill and his team, and just amazing to be able to learn more about the traditional side, but then also working with individuals like Bob Case, who is just phenomenal when it comes to video and animation and just art direction and everything. And so, cool. Got a chance there to just, broaden my horizons. And all throughout that journey, I was a very avid cannabis user, but I really couldn't open up in the professional setting and say that I was.
Sure.
And then I became a medical patient, and, again, still not, kind of burgeoning that gap, I guess. Yep. And so I did some intention setting, and I was like, I really want to work in the cannabis industry, but I didn't know quite how to do that. So I'd stepped away from more of the traditional agency route, and I found a recruiter who, just by word of mouth and knowing different people, they recommended me for the job, and it happened to be at Jupiter Research, who was one of the first C-cell distributors. And so this was back in 2016, 2017. Timeless was one of their first clients.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and it was pretty amazing. They were out of a 2-bedroom apartment. And so that was a little odd, going from a nice cushy executive job to like, oh, hey, I'm going to work out of a closet kind of thing, you know? And I interviewed quite a bit just to make sure it was the right fit on both sides. I was their first full-time hire. At the time, they just kind of had consultants and the owners, and decided that it was the right fit. So I was head of marketing, and stayed there for, around 4 years. We built it to sell it, and it was kind of amazing. That first year we did around 25 million in revenue. Wow. And that second year, and that was with like 6 or 7 people. I mean, it was a very small operation. Wow. And that second year we almost hit 100 million, and it it grew like bonkers. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It's crazy what great products can do, you know? Sure.
Yeah.
And the market just needed it so much. The founders came from the e-cigarette industry and adapted their technology into the cannabis space. And yeah, it just was a really great product. And I was very much a fan of Timeless and a user of Timeless at the time. And so it helped check a lot of boxes. But we ended up selling the company to Tilt Holdings, took it public, and that's where they continue to sit today. And one of our biggest clients was Curaleaf. And so I was always a fan of the Select brand and just everything that they did from a branding perspective, but then also just the retail side and understanding that like my cannabis experience was kind of a little one note when it comes to just vapes, right? And not plant touching either. It was just the hardware side, the cartridges and the batteries. And so, again, kind of like alluding back to like my Lavage days and like the switch that I did there, just seeing that there was a little bit of blue ocean and saw that there was the opportunity to be able to expand. So took a little bit of time off, and then Curaleaf found me. I was recruited, and it was a very quick process. And it was right around the time that we went recreational here in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So Q1 of 2021.
That's right.
And yeah, that
I
led
remember.
me there. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you came on board at Curaleaf.
Oh,
and
do you?
we got to work together for
did.
I think just like 1 or 2 yoga classes that had still, or maybe, I don't know how much longer it ran when you came in.
Midtown.
Out of Midtown. But I remember when you came on, and you were a breath of fresh air for sure.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
As well as Kelly, who had been working with Curaleaf as well.
Yes. Yeah. She had left in October, and they were without a head of marketing for a while, for Arizona at least.
Okay.
And so, it was a wonderful experience. And I've been with Curaleaf since then, but I did take a bit of a break. And so I stayed for about 8 months and then left for a year to pursue grad school and kind of kickstart just this pretty aggressive program with Cornell.
Yeah.
And once I realized, okay, I can do this in 15 to 20 hours a week. I could still do a full-time job by keeping this. I mean, it was like hindsight, I have PTSD a little bit, I think, from the whole experience, but I managed it. But yeah, put it in 60, 70 hours at Curaleaf, and then doing homework on the side and not being able to see friends or like,
Just like,
oh, thank you, I appreciate it. But it's you really adapt. And I would bring my laptop to the bar, and be like, I can hang out with you guys, but I got to do this, that kind of stuff. So it worked out. Or we were a sponsor at Gold Rush, and so I was setting up the booth. Then I was like over in the corner doing my homework.
We saw you
and, like,
on your laptop.
Yep, just on my laptop.
In the middle of a rave. It was classic. I don't think I've ever actually seen that before in my life. It was great. First time for everything.
I know, right? Yes. I was like hoping, okay, I could be an inspiration to other people, hopefully, because I got the idea from my cousin who's in med school right now, and she would do that, as she was studying for her boards and everything. We would still hang out, but she'd be, on her laptop and then party and then on her laptop again.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, okay.
I can
have
do that.
any sort of life. You might as well get creative.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, for sure. So,
wow.
But, and then I guess to answer the final question was, sort of what got me to where I am.
Yeah.
I think a big piece of that is my drive for perseverance and for like just that overall grit is definitely a learned trait from my mom.
Okay.
And so my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis before I was born. And so kind of growing up, seeing that disability and seeing how it definitely impacted her. There'd be months where, you know, she couldn't get out of bed because she couldn't walk, you know, just things like that. But then when she was feeling really good, she made the most of it. And I mean, I kind of say that like my mom was Pinterest before Pinterest existed, because like literally any special holiday, any crafts, just anything. She always made sure that we were entertained. She always made sure that we had amazing experiences. Birthdays were important. Christmas was important. And even though, you know, there were times that the MS held her back, she just always had this positive, like, God will provide kind of, you know, attitude. And it just always had resonated. You know, there'd be definitely times of frustration, obviously, and like, you know, woe is me sort of aspects. But, you know, even seeing her just be able to pick up and just, I mean, literally do whatever she put her mind to. And so when I was in high school, she was diagnosed with cancer. So it was just like,
oh my goodness,
dual whammy. Had gotten divorced. And was going through thyroid cancer and doing radiation, and decided she wanted to be a nurse. And it was always a lifetime goal of hers to be an RN. And so she put herself through school and literally graduated in 3 years. And so she's been a nurse for, gosh, almost, I guess I'm dating myself a little bit, but that was a while ago, like 30 years ago, probably. So,
that's cool.
But yeah. So just kind of seeing that journey and being able to see someone who could just overcome any obstacle and keep a smile on her face and stay really positive, but still realistic, obviously, to the, you know, hindrances and things. And that's something that, I've definitely taken with me for sure. And she's raised some amazing kids, and my siblings are like, we have a really good relationship and just integrated network, right? And feel so supported. And when that baseline is there, like it's essential. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
I love that. Thank you.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
You can definitely see her mirrored in you for sure, with
Appreciate that.
Tenacity and drive, and just, you know, following your heart or your dream and knowing that you can do it, believing in yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Believing in yourself.
Which is a huge, huge aspect for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, you've had a lot of years of experience in marketing, clearly, and I'd love to know, like, how have you seen the landscape, the marketing landscape, evolve, especially in the cannabis industry?
Sure. Yeah, and I, you know, working at Vertical Measures and just getting into the industry, it was before business for social media pages. You know, I mean, this was like, you'd have to kind of like make your own like personal profile page, but as a brand, it was going to get taken down, you know, just different aspects, right? So just like that was the beginning of my eyes into marketing. And then to be able to kind of see how things are now, it's pretty amazing. But I think a big aspect has been the tech stack overall. So although, like, you know, marketing in general, the channels have changed, have definitely expanded. We have Instagram now, we have TikTok, we have like a variety of different social channels, but then also just seeing the changes with the search landscape with Google.
Yes.
Every time Google would come out with an update, you know, clients of ours would potentially lose traffic, or there'd be these odd issues that would occur. And, you know, all of a sudden you're marketing on something that sends you 100,000 visitors, and overnight you have 20 visitors. Like it's pretty bonkers. And so
you're scrambling to kind of always figure out
right
how to get back there or improve. Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. And you're putting all your eggs in one basket if you're just looking at one channel, right?
Sure.
So I think the biggest change has been just having that diversity in all those funnels for traffic and for awareness. And even just, I think, the overall understanding of the sales funnel in general and the customer life cycle. Consumers change their behavior quite often, right? And the marketing landscape, I think, is a bit more in tune to adjusting to those things for sure. So that definitely was a big piece. But I think too, just, I mean, all marketing channels have really seen that difference. And with the tech stack that I was kind of mentioning before, it's more of that integrated nature with the new software and platforms and things like that, right? So creating automation, that didn't exist, when I first got into marketing, like being able to set up, exactly, being able to set up reoccurring, drip campaigns or even just some of the integrated programmatic campaigns that we're able to run. At Curaleaf, we run OTT ads, so it's over-the-top ads, but they're on...
love that.
Isn't that cute? Yeah. They're on Sling TV, so it's video ads on like Sling and streaming platforms.
Cool.
Like that was something that I don't even know 5-10 years... I mean, it just
didn't
possible,
exist.
Yeah. Not in that format, you know? I mean, you maybe pre-roll ads, on YouTube or something,
Right.
but I mean, for cannabis, I mean, that was not allowed at all.
No.
Right? So the fact that we can do it now, the ads have to be when the kids are in bed. So it's like 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. we can run these ads. And
I'm in bed before 11.
I know, me too. I can't even see my own ads. Yes, for sure. But that piece has been really cool just to see how things have evolved, but then also our strategies evolved too. Well, we can't do that because kids are watching then let's just change the time, let's try and figure it out, like those aspects. So, yeah.
Getting creative. What are your thoughts on AI?
AI is interesting. I know. I mean, that the retargeting for programmatic is a really great piece that I think AI can kind of help a little bit with behavior targeting and switching up ads and being more dynamic there than it is still somewhat of a manual process in a sense. I think ChatGPT has so many benefits from, managing customer service and being able to create these really great interactions with consumers when they're having questions about our products, or even just troubleshooting, not being able to download the app or any of those things. And it's not a situation where I think it takes away a person who's doing that. It gives a tool to a person to be able to create more scalability and and cast a wider net.
Agreed. Just better quality. I think output.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's it's something that I'm also pretty cautious on because I think we don't really understand what the usage of that data that we're providing will then have a ripple effect, right?
Right.
And
what's the impact?
Exactly. Well, I mean, as being a publicly traded company, we have to be careful about what information we share, because if it's maybe material information and we haven't shared it with our shareholders first, we could then get in trouble. And so if you're using this platform to maybe help you write new code for the website, but it hasn't been launched yet, or you're it's helping you with maybe public relations and writing, a piece, a press release that hasn't been released yet, if that contains material information and it gets out there, right? So the privacy aspect of it, not only for the normal privacy, but also the legal implications too, which has been interesting. Just kind of like, I can
see your legalese coming through. Thank you, Cornell Law.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yes.
That's a really interesting perspective. I really didn't even think about that. I don't think about. I know we're using it maybe for like copy or, helping, organizing thought or ideas, things like that. But yeah, I mean, when you're trying to go ahead.
Just AI it seems like every day there's this leveling up of capability and, the legal piece, certainly in terms of being able to look at cases and analyze just huge amounts of data around law, and that's just one piece, but I mean, it seems like every week something is mind-blowing that comes across my feed, whether it's just like an avatar that is very real, these everything from influencers that are full avatars, I mean, it's everything. It's
wild.
Like it's crazy.
It's creepy.
Yeah. It can be.
I think it's a little creepy.
And there's a lot of the, I guess one example that comes to mind is that happened recently was with Taylor Swift, and some illicit photos and videos came out that were AI generated.
Yeah.
And her followers literally got it taken down in like record time. I mean, just beyond bonkers how quickly that happened.
Wow.
But imagine that you literally have to have a force of people to be able to take down some of these things that AI can generate that like may affect your reputation, that may get you fired or
I saw something
criminally,
on that. Yes.
you know?
Like imagine if you didn't have a Taylor Swift size following and it's just you if you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Just horrible.
Yeah.
So there's the negative side, I guess we should
Yes.
focus on the negative.
But there's a lot of positives.
That came out just recently. So
My dad got one of those calls, a call about me. He actually
did he really?
Yeah, he called me. He was like, I got a voicemail. I had been getting this call, but I just ignore it because I know it's a scam.
Yeah.
But they found his number and called him saying that if I didn't like call this number back, that there were like charges, or the charges were being pressed, and there was like a legal client, like it was like a law office.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Wow.
And my dad called me. He was like, Jenny, there's somebody did you get into trouble? I was like, no, Dad, that's a scam.
Wow.
Yeah. And so fortunately you can like search the number in Google to see if it's a scam. Did you know that?
Sure.
Just put the number that called you and say, is this a scam? This number, is it a scam? And it'll come up with, yes, this number has been recognized in other scams. And so
Yeah, we have a safe word in our family.
You do have a safe word
for
now?
sure.
That's smart
Yeah,
to
with
do.
our daughter and such. You know, if someone calls and says we're someone, she can say it and or ask the question, which I feel is a pretty good way to
yeah, I think I should probably
combat
do
that.
come
that
up
with
with
my
that.
dad.
Yeah, for sure.
This AI is crazy.
I know it is.
Crazy.
Yeah. But it's you take the good with the bad, right?
Yeah,
You know, it's
exactly.
With all in life.
Yes,
but,
right?
Equally so with that. Yeah.
So looking forward into the future, I mean, we were talking a little bit about AI, but what emerging trends do you see in marketing that you believe are pivotal for the cannabis industry?
Sure.
And how is Curaleaf positioning itself to be at the forefront of those changes?
Yeah, no, great question. You know, one of our company values definitely hinges on innovation and being able to be incredibly innovative in the cannabis space. And, you know, no matter what role that you're in at Curaleaf, being able to, just think back to how can you make this role better? What are some maybe aspects of your prior career that you can bring into this space and make solutions and changes for the better and the greater good? And so I think, you know, being able to have that as our baseline and really that substantive part of our values is seen in so many different ways, you know, and it could be from, changing the grow cycles and, you know, innovating at the literal cultivation level all the way up to, even in customer service or the way that we have our experience in our stores. We recently just launched with our flower wall in a couple of locations. And so as I think innovation can also be a nod to the past as well and reinventing something that previously was there. And so, you know, the world of 2016, 2017, sniffer jars were everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like you would see them in all kinds of stores. And then at some point, especially in the Arizona market, they just kind of went away, you know?
Yeah.
There are certain locations where deli style maybe is still existing or things like that. But for the most part, like actually seeing the bud before you buy it, you know, is... not as much there. And so we saw that as an opportunity at the end of last year and moved on it really quickly. And so some of our stores are featuring, 50 plus strains on this strain wall and being able to see strain cards with the specific terpenes and, and the lineage and being able to literally see that, but then also see the buds and see the trichomes and, there's magnifying glass and a little, there's a kind of button on the side that poofs air in there that then
It gives you the terpenes?
It does.
Wow.
It basically, you have this little environment in this little cup, right? That you can press on the side and be able to smell, have a better smell of what's inside. Yeah.
That's cool.
But just, so something that doesn't necessarily seem like it's rocket science in a sense, right? But something that, definitely showcases some innovation.
It's
there.
coming back to the experience rather
Exactly.
than just getting them through the line.
Yep.
You know, like that's nice. As a customer, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for
Those
sure.
types of details. Yeah.
Are the flower walls at just the new locations, or are some of those at some of the older locations?
Mostly the new ones for right
Cool.
now. And then, so we actually just rebranded our Reef dispensaries to Curaleaf stores.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We had our ribbon cutting ceremony a couple weeks ago, and
That's great.
teams are excited. Yes. And the stores look beautiful. But our store that's up on near 55th Ave and Bell has it integrated into the wall.
Oh, okay.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
so we're excited
Yeah, I
about
wanna check that
one.
out.
Yes, yeah. And then Curaleaf Scottsdale also has it.
It's a beautiful location.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we're gearing up for Waste Management Open.
Woo.
Yes.
We'll be in. We'll come say hello.
Okay, love it. Yes, yes. Yeah, our activation starts on the Wednesday of Waste Management and goes all the way through Super Bowl Sunday. So,
Oh, good.
Wow.
Yes.
We'll have to stop
Which is
by.
always lovely.
Yeah,
did that
let's
last
do
year.
that. Yeah, we did. It was a really nice day
Yeah, it was great.
together. Yeah.
Cool. I appreciate that. Yes. No, we love your support and seen everybody from the industry, and it's amazing. Yeah, how many events cross collab with cannabis interest and things like that, right? So
Well,
it's,
cannabis is like the sprinkle on top of everything. It's like a little sprinkle of magic on top of whatever thing you're doing.
yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
sometimes you know, I'm the first to admit, like I advocate for both clarity and cannabis. Like you know, little breaks, everything in moderation. That's my belief system. But
For sure.
But I do believe that you know, like most things are more enjoyable with a little bit of weed.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, he's getting here, right?
For sure.
And then the things that you don't necessarily want to do, like laundry or the yard or anything
Oh
like
yeah,
that, even way
Shit,
better.
Moving.
does.
Oh my gosh, moving. I don't know how
I mean, come on. Yeah.
Yeah, pop edibles and move all day. It's
Yeah.
fine. Makes it better.
Where's that one box? With the, sorry.
Yeah, but it does. No,
It made it
adds that
over.
Extra. Well, and it's so cool to be able to see the new inventive ways that brands are able to integrate cannabis
Yes.
into some of these, you know, events or even weddings or you know, like it's pretty neat little plus up, you know.
Yeah,
It's 2024. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
Yeah.
we are.
I think one other thing that I wanted to mention, though, about some of the innovation and the things that we've seen is, you know, programmatic advertising has been really important for us and our revenue growth. And it's a highly measurable channel for sure. And being able to just be able to tap into the data and really see the, you know, psychographic profiles or demographic profiles and be able to tailor your messaging to where the consumer is in that life cycle journey, where they are in the sales funnel. And I think that seems very like basic kind of logic marketing, but it's not as easy as you'd think.
Yeah.
You know? And so the innovation that our media team has in, you know, being able to leverage the website data and, you know, all of our channels, anything that's measurable to be able to innovate on what we do that then we're able to measure in conversions and, you know, be able to advocate then for more marketing dollars to be able to spend and like really try to find that point of diminishing returns in any channel that we're in is important, but specifically with programmatic has been a nice, I guess, nice
that's
journey
exciting.
the last few years.
For sure. That's why Starbucks does so well, is you can go and get exactly what you want in terms of a drink, anything, you know? So it's, I mean, that's just an example. But
For sure. No, and I think too, it's more efficient spend, right? So then you're not kind of,
wasting.
I guess, right, that spray and pray sort
Yeah.
of, you know, part of marketing, I hope is gone, you
Yeah.
know, at some point. Because it does, it costs so much money and it's not effective for a certain level of brands. Now, if it's a Coca-Cola,
Yeah, that's
you know,
different.
that's trying to gain market share from Pepsi, like they
Yeah.
have to do all of the things, right? And
course.
it's the ads behind home plate. And so then it's like, are all of those users that they pay for, you know, pay to see that ad, are they all, you know, Coke or Pepsi? No, of course not. But they're-
Super Bowl ads.
yeah. Oh gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Well, knowing you and your background in law, ethics, it's a big deal. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that it's important to you, maintaining a good ethical, code in business. How do you navigate ethical dilemmas in cannabis? And can you share an example of where your ethical stance guided your business decision, or something that's, was a big situation?
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, it comes up quite often. Not in the ways of, I guess I don't want to construe that as negative.
No.
But it just, there are just aspects of marketing, aspects of working in cannabis, aspects of just being a human, right?
Yeah.
That involve kind of looking downstream to see what ethical sort of aspects may come or are present, just those things. I think, a very careful approach, and it is a situational aspect, which is hard because it's super subjective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think through my studies with Cornell, we had a few business ethics courses to just really understand not only a guide, but also the repercussions too. And I think just using that logical mindset of, this is how I'm feeling, but this is also what could potentially happen, right? And weighing the sort of pros and cons of that. And I think, just taking it seriously and being, kind of being really eyes open and I hate to always take that negative stance, right? So it's kind of being able to weigh the pros and cons of all the situations is important.
Yeah.
And it could be anything from, maybe instead of referencing a brand or maybe an artist or referencing something in pop culture, being able to, I guess, kind of allude to it without being completely direct. And so then you're sort of being able to play on both sides and still have a positive, stance on it.
Yeah.
I think that's one piece. But, we have these topics sort of come up, and I love our compliance partners at Curaleaf and being able to have a debate, and they love the strategy kinds of conversations, or even my legal team at Curaleaf being able to have those sort of conversations and just get multiple perspectives. And I don't necessarily like to approach a situation just completely independent. Very much what we do at Curaleaf is collaboration, and with our recent reorg that took place at the end of Q4, it really was to prop that up across the entire country. Because, there's a lot of pillars and there's some subject matter expertise and you get really in your lane.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily create innovation all the time. And it almost has bias in a sense too, right? And so being able to open it up to new perspectives is a big piece just to evaluate whatever it is that's before us, right? So
seems like we could learn a lot about that in many aspects of life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just applying that to many aspects of society at this time, being able to hear all the sides and come at it from a neutral place and not be emotional about it. In fact, I just had I had a lunch with a friend and my partner, and this topic came up, about what's happening in the world today, and being able to not be emotional or passionate about a specific side or viewpoint when you're really committed. It's interesting, to be able to just clear all that out, just talk about it, and then come up with maybe some solutions or resolutions in some way.
For sure.
So the cannabis industry has the potential to influence society in numerous ways, from economic development to social justice issues. Given your experience and ethical stance, how do you believe the cannabis industry can contribute positively to society beyond its commercial success?
Yeah, that's a big question, a loaded one, but I know there's so many aspects that I guess in any position that you're in and at any table you're at, that you can influence based on your own personal experiences. But then I think this key tenet that my mom really taught us was just for the greater good. What is for the greater good, right? And being able to kind of continually ask yourself that question.
I like that.
And not every situation necessarily offers that really easy path to
Sure.
figuring that out, right?
Yeah.
For sure. And sometimes it's timing, and sometimes there's other factors at play, certainly. But I think one part of working at Curaleaf that I've really enjoyed in this regard is our sustainability program. So, there's so much waste that takes place in cannabis. And when I worked at Jupiter and worked with C-Cell, 1 year I did a count on how many pieces and parts would just end up in a landfill in 4 years or less, And I think that piece of being a consumer packaged goods company, sometimes you don't think of the end of life of a product, especially as a manufacturer. Like that's for the clients to figure out, right? It's not the manufacturer, but I really compelled the organization to think of it differently. And that number was 40 million pieces and parts that would end up in a landfill. And we're talking lithium ion batteries or mouthpieces or cartridges or, just anything, right? There is no cartridge sustainable program right now. I think California kind of has a little bit. Canada is by far and away. TerraCycle has been doing some amazing things, but and there are battery recycling that you could just go down to Home Depot and recycle your 5-10 thread battery. But if it's attached to a cartridge, you can't necessarily do that, right? So it's understanding that definitely was a big eye opener for me. And so I learned a lot more about sustainability, and I was blessed to be able to come into my role with an existing sustainability, component with our partners with Resonate. And so in any of our dispensaries in Arizona, you can bring in your empty packaging. And there's some limited lists there. It's not cartridges just yet. It's not just it's not batteries, but it's at least a piece.
It's a start.
It is. Yeah. To be able to divert waste. And over time, just seeing those numbers that Garrett will share of just the companies here locally that are taking that as a passion project, and we're talking literal tons of packaging that's not in the landfills anymore. That he's then able to kind of take it back into the supply chain to be reused or making goods. And I know he sells, things on Etsy.
He's got
his
some
rolling
dope
trays.
Yeah,
the
rolling
trays. Yeah,
shout out to
great.
Garrett and Resonate. Check out their rolling trays. What are they called again? It's called the...
Oh my goodness, catchy. I should know this. I know.
Sure.
It's got all these different... Like corners where you can tilt your weed into a cone and stuff it the right way, and it's fantastic. Yeah. We should link that in the show notes just to give Garrett a shout out.
Sure.
Yeah, and different colors, and he's coming out with new things. And I think he's even working. I'm pretty sure he's working on a design patent, or being able, because it's so unique, that he's offering. And so I'm excited to see what else he comes up with. I know he's very focused on trying to find a solution on the cartridge or battery side too, and just it's amazing to see, right? And that's kind of harping back to our innovation sort of conversation. Those are those examples, right? And I think in cannabis, and especially being one of the leading companies, it's important for us to be able to work with partners that want to do that innovation, although maybe we don't have the resources to do it or the bandwidth, being able to support them. And that's something that we definitely are keen to do. And bringing sustainability to other states is a big piece. And so I'm excited to see what Curaleaf launches later in the year. Can't really say anything, but it's coming.
It's exciting.
Yeah,
very cool. Yes. I'm glad that that Curaleaf is on board to help come with a solution. That's awesome,
for sure. Yep.
So I want to take a little turn just to talk a little bit about being a woman in a very male-dominated industry. You're a successful woman. You have a very significant role for yourself, and you've worked hard to get there. And I'd love to know what has been your experience navigating this industry, and any challenges you want to share, or wins, or anything of that nature.
Sure. Yeah. And I think I've worked in several industries that kind of come up against lack of diversity or potential for bias in the organization. And I think it's not, it's not uncommon in other industries as well as in cannabis. I will say, though, that I've had the pleasure of working for a couple organizations, and especially with Curaleaf, that really take diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion as an important aspect of not only our values but mission, and then doing what we say we're going to do, and that piece is important. And sometimes there's too much of this rush to try to expect like overnight change, right? And being a change agent at an organization and just that change management in general is such a huge aspect and can be very frustrating, right? But being able to take a positive mindset and see the small wins in there. And I was recently promoted at the end of the year, and I think just even the company taking aspects of that, of seeing senior female leaders in roles. And so my three counterparts were all strong female-led teams on marketing. Our head of marketing for Curaleaf is Kate Lynch, and she's just a powerhouse, like just beyond powerhouse, and represents us incredibly well at the ELT table. Our executive team is an amazing group, and so just having that within our organization. And she's been head of marketing really since I first started with Curaleaf, and being able to not only see her growth but see how she's been advocating for so many women within our organization. And it's not just in marketing, it's not just in traditional female and female-led kind of roles necessarily. We had our head of our director of operations in Arizona, even in our operations team in Nevada is very female-led, and so I just think it's an important piece that has kept me at Curaleaf for sure. Is a big piece because they take it to heart, and
that's great.
I've seen that growth that's taken place. But I mean, I will say, going to conferences like MJ BizCon or attending other sort of industry events, it still very much is, you read the room and see the percentages. It's not hard to see that it is fairly dominated by white men of a certain age, in a certain sense. But I think I don't necessarily see it as a hindrance to me personally in my own professional career. We are so collaborative with where I work, and when biases really aren't necessarily in place, right? Like those aspects, I mean, it has a place for improvement, certainly, but I can't say necessarily personally that it's had a negative role for me. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, and I would say you're definitely a woman to inspire other women who may be listening and are currently finding their way through life or towards their dream or whatever that is.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, one of the kind of hot topics in cannabis right now is federal legalization of cannabis, and some of the challenges and opportunities. I'd love to chat about some of that with you.
Sure.
Specifically, federal legalization of cannabis, remains a controversial and complex issue with both staunch advocates and opponents. From your vantage point as marketing director at Curaleaf, and considering your legal background, what are the most significant challenges and opportunities that federal legalization would present to the cannabis industry and Curaleaf specifically?
Sure.
Ooh, that was a good reading of that question.
Yes.
That was a mouthful.
Exactly. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
But deservedly so, because it is such a huge issue, and it's much of what we deal with in cannabis is based on laws that, kind of were enacted at the turn of the century, early, 1900s, and really based in this assumption that cannabis doesn't have a medical value, that it doesn't have a value overall, or that it's overly harmful, or that it's in a category with drug trafficking of illicit substances like cocaine and heroin and methamphetamines. I mean, it's and so we live that every day, right? And It's been amazing to see the cannabis industry just work around those problems and be able to back into the solution in a different way. And, you know, at Curaleaf, we essentially have separate businesses in every state that we are in. Wow. Every product has to be grown in that state. It has to be processed in that state. We do have hemp, which, you know, can be transported, but that's about it. You know, that's the only line that we have. And so I think a big aspect of breaking down the borders is efficiency in the supply chain, reduction in overall costs. I think being able to find those efficiencies with just which of our sites is growing the most potent, best quality, highest, you know, cannabis, and being able to leverage that across multiple states, not just having this kind of bifurcated sort of system. So that's a big piece, but you'd be surprised. I mean, a lot of our teams work, like I was saying, very collaboratively, and so we'll have, you know, the Florida cultivation team out to Arizona to teach them, but you can't bring, you can't really do anything else. Yeah, exactly. You're kind of just, you know, based on SOPs and processes and things like that. So I definitely see the advantages there for sure. Another aspect is with the rescheduling or descheduling or whatever is decided, right? But I mean, immediately overnight, we're talking $100+ million add-on to our total revenue just by not having that tax burden on us, which is just crazy. It's,
I don't think people understand how much dispensaries are taxed.
Yeah.
Wild.
I mean, in certain states, like in, I studied some of the tax law in Washington for my capstone and my grad paper. And the effective tax rate for some of those companies is 70%. I mean, it's just, and the consumer pays 35%. I mean, it's almost like this double taxation aspect, right? You're not able to write off cost of goods because of 280E.
Right.
And so these traditional other CPG, you know, non-cannabis, you know, companies are able to do that, and we're just straddled with, you know, such a huge tax burden. And I think that even if, you know, there is descheduling, there could be a federal tax placed on cannabis. I mean,
I don't think they're going to lose that money, to be honest.
Right, exactly. So they'll find potentially a way, but I think it'll be in a means that's a little bit more justified. Right?
Agreed.
And, you know, gasoline or I'm trying to think of some other industries that I had studied, but there's sin taxes on a variety of items.
Tobacco, for sure.
And even, you know, pharmaceuticals and things like that have different tax classifications and it differs between states. But I think that piece will give us a better footing to be able to go to the capital markets and be able to I mean, just right now to be able to get capital to invest and grow our company is so hard to do. And then you add on, you know, it's expensive. And then you add on the fact that, you know, it's not federally legal and there's all this tax, you know, the tax burden and things like that.
Can you imagine?
Banking alone.
Yeah, can you
just
imagine?
Banking.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that creates all sorts of interesting issues. I'm sure at the dispensary level. Like when the ATMs go out.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's like, okay, what are we doing? You know? Yeah. No, and all the more reason that it's, I mean, the quicker we can get to that solution, the better, because patients, customers, everyone, you know, it's for the greater good. Like everyone will benefit, and I'm excited to see what our company does then with that additional revenue, to be able to innovate in maybe drug trials or being able to just do more research with the plant. And there's so many companies that aren't able to do that truly effectively, and we're missing out on all the research and all the benefits that we know exist, right? Because we see it in our person, and we're users, and really being able to understand that. But the medical community needs to see that too. And, you know, I think people don't realize, I know that the COVID vaccine came through very quickly and it was expedited. So, you know, the perception is that these things happen really quickly, and they don't. I mean, the general drug trial is 10+ years and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And, you know, when you're straddled with so much tax burden, how on earth can you find the money to be able to do that? You know, you're just trying to survive and be able to carry everything. So so that part I'm really excited for, and what will exist. But we do invest in our international community, and they're much more advanced than we are, thankfully. So I'm hoping that it may come from
countries?
Israel, it may come from other countries, but Germany is pretty big for us right now, and the UK as well. And just bringing the Curaleaf name over. We do have some pharmacies, and being able to expand as they consider adult use in the future.
How about in Asia?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say España. Would you have anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Do you?
Not quite. I mean, we definitely love our Cannabis conferences and, things of that nature. It'll come for sure. Okay. I think we just, being able to start and integrate in a way that is truly effective within each country. And they are just so different.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So different. Yeah.
What about Thailand?
Not quite,
well,
but it's very much, a possibility. I think it's, a big aspect is being able to have the capital markets sort of shift so that we can, invest more. But
there's Thailand isn't, I would wait until, anybody considering getting into that market now, because there's some major reform that's happening.
Exactly. They went,
really? Okay.
Yeah, they opened it up, and then now they're pulling it back.
Yeah, they opened it up completely, like no rules, like you could smoke on the street. And I guess the Thai government didn't appreciate that. So now they're putting more reform, and like it's only medical, and you can't use it in public. And I believe there's even more restrictions on there's restrictions on existing establishments, but I don't even know if you can open a new establishment there.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's how much they're reforming.
Putting the brakes on is really
screeching halt.
Whoa!
So,
what did we just do?
Yeah, so I don't know. To be seen, remains to be seen. But a friend of mine who visits Thailand a lot actually recommended. It's called I think it's called Tiger News, like Thai THAIGER Tiger News. You can look up like Tiger News Today on YouTube, and it's all Thai
Cannabis news.
Thai updates on the country and just what's happenings in there. But they'll also talk about cannabis. So I thought that was a really helpful tip. I started tuning in. So
cool.
The more you know.
Yes,
the more you know. Exactly.
Now I'm excited for what the growth of the cannabis industry looks like internationally, and just barely dipping the toes.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're all watching what's happening here in the United States. Like, do we want to do that? Or they're not succeeding at this right now. Federally, we're not. Like, I mean, from business owner perspective, we're not plant touching, but we are a tier 2 marijuana related business, because most of our income comes from cannabis businesses, including, Curaleaf is one of our clients, and we are therefore guilty by association, essentially. So we are limited in the same banking and the confines of all that.
No, but the banking aspect, I mean, I remember the first time that my eyes were like a bit open to it was when I was at Jupiter. So I worked with our PR agency at the time, and we got a front page of the business section in the Arizona Republic, and it was a background on us, and it was a feature for my CEO. It went live, and he called me and he said, my bank just shut me down, my personal bank account. I've been there for 40 years. Yeah. And they saw the article, and they said, no more. Yeah. And we weren't plant touching. I mean, our customers were, obviously cannabis companies, but it wasn't even our business account. It was literally legit his personal account. And so, they just took the stance that, hey, you're receiving, salary from a company that, although it was Jupiter Research, so it didn't seem like it was cannabis, right? And randomly, Jupiter Research was actually like a research company that I want to say that, I forget which company, Garner or something like that, like, one of those pollster kinds of companies actually purchased, and then they got rid of the name. But but anyways, it was just a crazy circumstance. And then not long after, then our credit card processing company was like, no, we can't do this, and so it was crazy. We had to scrub our website for any mention of CBD, THC, you guys remember those. I mean, it's still the way that it is now, and you're not even plant touching. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Well, the fact there's states where it's illegal, and you can have a state next door,
Yeah.
and it's adult use. I just don't understand that.
Exactly. I fly home. So to get to where my mom is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I have to fly into Spokane and Washington State, right? Totally recreational.
Yeah.
If I fly into Montana to see my dad, totally recreational.
Idaho?
But that little, you know, and she just lives in the panhandle, and you can literally get from Washington to Montana in like 2.5 hours. But you go through Idaho, and it's just, I mean, it's pretty rough felony for
Yeah.
It's a
for any
felony in
possession.
Idaho,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm not bringing my
Crazy.
weed to yoga tree fort or yoga fort. I'm just telling you, it's staying in Arizona.
Yes, exactly.
Biting by the rules.
I know, and that aspect of traveling with cannabis definitely
Yeah.
would not recommend.
No,
it's not
worth it.
No,
It
it's not.
isn't. It just isn't. Yeah, and the laws are just too vague in that regard, and who enforcement is, and all that. That would be, yeah. We can talk about that for hours.
Oh yeah.
So, as we come to an end of this conversation, would you be able to share with us your personal vision for the future in the cannabis industry?
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting because I think, you know, I had manifested in a sense, like working in the cannabis industry, and then had manifested going to law school, and you know, so I'm like on the other side of that, and just thinking through what is it, what's next,
Yeah.
you know, where am I going from here, and I think a big aspect to that is I always want to be innovating. I always want to be learning and be able to expand. And one of the great things that has kind of happened in the last couple months, I guess, is I was selected with Curaleaf to be a part of a seed program where 25 individuals from the company are given the opportunity to have a mentor on the senior leadership team. We're given a curriculum and dollars to be able to invest in ourselves through courses
Oh, that's
or
great.
a conference or things like that. And then each month there's themes and education. And so I was in Boston earlier this week and met with the other candidates and got to see the program and just get very excited about reinvesting into myself again. And I think at the core, I was like, am I really ready for this? I don't know. Like, just got done with school, but I'm very much am. I mean, it's always underlying there. And I think that's a big piece of my personal value or my values and mission in life is to be open to opportunities and I guess it's a sense of like reading the room, you know, a little bit of like, okay, well, here we are, you know, what's out there, and taking what does come to you and making your own of it and making the best of it. And I think that harpens back to like what my mom really stands for and what she really taught us early on, to be able to take what life gives you and, you know, like the, you know, cliche saying of lemons and lemonade, but it really is that piece, right? And trying to stay positive and look at the timing of things and take it for what it is, you know? So I think that's something that I'm very excited about. And I think on the personal side, for sure, being able to take a little bit more breaks and, you know, take a big vacation this year.
Yeah,
like,
that's great.
Definitely want to do that. Yeah. I know when you've been talking about Tulum, I'm very jealous, like being able to go and, take that time to just rest and invest on the other side of things, right? Because we can be goal oriented and have, you know, this go attitude, but balance is important. So,
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, with gratitude, we are thrilled to sit here with you. Thanks for sharing more about you. I think it's important that people get to know you, this amazing woman who is a part of a very big brand, but you know, there's something to be said about how special the team is that makes Curaleaf, and you are definitely a big part of that heart here in Arizona. So we love working with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yes.
And where can folks find you? You know, is there, can they pop in store and see Kaila, you know, wandering around, you know, busy, or, how do people reach out? Maybe even following Curaleaf on social, any closing remarks?
Would love that. Yeah. Yeah. So we have our national channel. So kind of looking on Instagram and finding Curaleaf. Our Arizona channel is _Curaleaf AZ. And then me personally, check me out on LinkedIn. I would love to get a follow or, to connect. And then on social is click Kaila, CLIQUE KAILA.
Great.
But find me online. Love to connect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. And for those who are listening, we have some really exciting events planned for this year with Curaleaf, and we're starting in April. We've got some things we're cooking up, and then we're actually about to launch our Friday High Day After Dark concept on April 12th, and Curaleaf is our title sponsor and partner. We're going to do some fun activations, and it's all the fun things. It's music and art and nightlife and food and zero proof cocktails and weed, of course.
Of course.
All the good things. So we're excited to work together again. And if you want to find out when those tickets go on sale, go ahead and sign up for our email list at Plant.Body.Soul.com. You'll get first notice on those ticket drops. And then you can follow us on Instagram at Plant.Body.Soul, as well as Facebook and YouTube at Plant.Body.Soul. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it from. We'd love to have you come back and listen to more. And if you are inclined, give us a 5-star review. We'd really love the support. So thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.